Have you ever caught yourself wondering, what if? What if love found you again, not in youth's bloom, but in the seasoned stillness of your 60s or 70s? Maybe it started as a flicker, an unexpected smile across a room, a hand offered during a walk, or a quiet laugh shared over morning coffee. The idea is comforting and a little terrifying, because remarriage later in life isn't simply a continuation of an old story. It's an entirely new chapter, full of beauty, but also layered with history, family, finances, and deep-seated emotions. It's not about chasing dreams anymore. It's about protecting the peace you've earned and deciding who deserves to share it with you. This isn't about scaring you off. Quite the opposite. In the next few minutes, we'll walk through 5 essential truths. Not just facts, but life-defining insights that could help you decide if remarriage is truly right for you at this stage in life. You'll hear real stories, real struggles, and the kind of clarity that only time can offer. If you're curious, hesitant, or somewhere in between, you're in the right place. Let's begin. First, emotional expectations aren't what they used to be. Close your eyes and think back to your first idea of love. Maybe it was full of butterflies, shared dreams, or late-night talks that lasted until dawn. It might have involved a wedding filled with promise, a future built brick by brick. Back then, love often meant merging into one, 2 hearts beating to the same rhythm, sacrificing for shared goals, raising children, and building a life together. Now, after 60, it's different. At this stage, your life is no longer a blank slate. It's a painting already rich with color, family, habits, routines, losses, victories. You've carved out your independence. And the question becomes, how do you welcome someone new into a life that already feels complete? Take Harold, for example. At 75, he'd lost his wife of nearly 5 decades. He found solace in daily rituals, quiet mornings with his coffee, evenings with his old jazz records. When he met Joan, a witty 70-year-old with her own strong identity, he felt alive again. Their love grew slowly, gently. But when they married, reality set in. Harold expected a return to the comforting patterns of partnership. Shared dinners, sleeping under the same roof, building memories side by side. Joan, on the other hand, valued her space. She'd been divorced for over 15 years. Her condo was her sanctuary, and her routines, her book club, her solo travel, were not things she wanted to give up. They clashed, not over love, but over expectation. This is what many people overlook. Remarriage later in life isn't about becoming one again. It's about learning to dance in sync while still keeping your own rhythm. Maybe you're the kind who loves early mornings and silence. Maybe your partner thrives at night with spontaneous plans. These differences, which once might have seemed charming, can become sources of frustration unless you talk about them openly. And then there's emotional baggage. Not in a negative sense, but real history that shapes how we love. If you're widowed, your heart may still carry the memory of your spouse. If you're divorced, you might be more guarded, protective of the life you've built. Neither is wrong, but both affect how you open up, trust, and connect. Harold often caught himself comparing Joan to his late wife. Her laugh, her way of organizing the kitchen, her warmth. He felt guilty. Joan, meanwhile, sometimes felt she was living in someone else's shadow, no matter how kind Harold was. The truth is, love after 60 isn't about replacing someone. It's about adding to your life. And that means redefining what connection, companionship, and closeness mean to you now. Do you want someone by your side every night, or someone you see on weekends? Are you open to blending routines, or do you prefer to keep parts of your life separate? There's no wrong answer, but there are better conversations. Ones that save you from misunderstanding and resentment down the road. So before you remarry, ask yourself, what does love look like to me now? What do I need emotionally? Not from fantasy, but from reality, because emotional harmony, at this age, isn't about passion that burns fast. It's about peace that lasts, and understanding each other's melody, even when the rhythms don't perfectly match. Second, happiness wears a new face with age. Picture this: you're sitting on your porch as the sky turns gold with the setting sun. There's a soft breeze, the hum of cicadas in the distance, and a warm cup of tea in your hands. It's peaceful, simple, and maybe, just maybe, it's exactly what happiness feels like now. In your younger years, happiness was often a pursuit. You chased it. Through building a career, raising children, buying a house, saving for the future. Love and marriage were foundations to build upon, promises of what was yet to come. But after 60, happiness doesn't look the same. Now, it's not about striving. It's about savoring, finding comfort in routine, in meaningful moments, in quiet companionship. And that's the key to remarriage at this stage. Asking if this person aligns with the life you already enjoy. Take Frank, for example. At 72, he'd settled into a peaceful rhythm. Mornings with coffee and the paper, afternoons tinkering in his garage with old radios, and quiet evenings watching the stars. When he met Diane, a spirited 68-year-old with a zest for travel and a suitcase half-packed, his world brightened. Their first months were full of joy. Drives along the coast, spontaneous weekend getaways, bursts of laughter. Frank thought he'd found the missing piece, but it didn't take long for the cracks to show. Diane craved motion. She booked trips to Italy and Morocco, joined social clubs, planned outings with friends. Frank, on the other hand, began to feel untethered. Her energy, once intoxicating, now felt overwhelming. His stillness, once cherished, felt judged. This is a common story. One person wants more adventure, the other more calm, and neither is wrong. But if not addressed, these differences can quietly unravel what started as something beautiful. Happiness after 60 isn't a one-size-fits-all. For some, it's cozy nights and shared routines. For others, it's passion, exploration, and new experiences. The key isn't to conform. It's to be honest with yourself and your partner about what joy really looks like for you. And here's a truth that often surprises people. Loneliness isn't always cured by companionship. Frank thought Diane would fill the silence his late wife left behind. But what he discovered is that peace doesn't come from outside. It starts within. If you're not content alone, marriage won't magically make everything feel right. In fact, it might amplify what's missing. So ask yourself, what brings me peace right now? Can I share this life without giving it up? Will this new relationship add to my joy, or demand that I reshape it? Frank and Diane eventually parted, amicably and with respect. They remained friends, but Frank returned to his garage, to the comfort of his quiet life, no longer questioning what made him feel whole. Remarriage after 60 can absolutely be part of your happiness, but only if it honors the version of yourself you've become and the life you've carefully built. This chapter isn't about chasing more. It's about choosing what matters most. Third, family dynamics can shift in unexpected ways. Imagine it's Thanksgiving. The house smells of roasted turkey and warm cinnamon pie. Laughter echoes from the dining room as your grandkids dart through the kitchen. You take a deep breath, ready to introduce your new spouse, someone who makes your heart feel alive again. But beneath the smiles and polite nods, there's tension, because remarriage after 60 isn't just about joining two hearts. It's about weaving two entire histories, each filled with memories, loyalties, traditions, and expectations. And sometimes, those threads knot in ways you didn't see coming. Meet Susan. At 68, after 12 years of widowhood, she met David, a kind, retired carpenter with a gentle soul. Their love bloomed through shared meals, slow walks, and quiet laughter. When they married, Susan expected joy to ripple through her family. Instead, she found resistance. Her son Mark welcomed David politely, but later pulled her aside. "Mom, what does this mean for us?" he asked, eyes clouded with worry. Her daughter, Lisa, grew distant, unsure how to navigate this shift. Neither disliked David. They were just unprepared for how this change would affect their memories, their sense of family. This isn't uncommon. Adult children, even the most loving ones, may feel threatened when a new partner enters the picture. It's not just about inheritance or property. It's about the emotional territory, the holidays, the traditions, even the role you've always played in their lives. They might fear losing their connection to you, or feel like their deceased parent is being replaced. And then there's the younger generation. Susan's granddaughter, Emma, asked her one day in a small voice, "Is he my new grandpa now?" Susan's heart twisted. Not because it was a bad question, but because she hadn't realized how deep the ripples would go. Now flip the coin. David had a family of his own. 3 grown children, 5 grandkids, and a loud, joyful way of gathering. His annual barbecues and camping trips clashed with Susan's quieter traditions. Suddenly, merging lives meant merging calendars, personalities, and long-standing customs. Not easy. Even money casts a shadow. Susan's children worried. Would their mother's assets, meant for them or for the grandkids' college funds, now be split? Would David's needs take priority? These weren't selfish concerns. They were rooted in love, in fear, in uncertainty. So what can you do? Start with a conversation. Susan eventually gathered her children over coffee. She spoke from the heart. "David brings me joy, but you are still my world." She laid out her intentions. Keeping the house in the family, keeping financial boundaries clear, and protecting the traditions that mattered. David, to his credit, supported her fully, and the result, not perfect, but better. Trust slowly returned. The lesson here is simple: remarriage doesn't just affect you. It touches every branch of your family tree. So don't avoid the hard talks. Don't assume love will smooth over uncertainty. Your honesty can be a gift, not just to your partner, but to your children and grandchildren, too. Because remarriage isn't just about creating a new future. It's about honoring the past while inviting others in. Gently, respectfully, and with care. Fourth, legal ties bind tighter than you expect. Picture standing beside someone you deeply care about, ready to begin again. The air is hopeful. Your heart feels full. But behind the joy of remarriage lies something far less romantic. Legal entanglements that could affect everything you've spent a lifetime building. In your 30s or 40s, marriage may have seemed straightforward. Combine incomes, share a home, maybe raise kids together. But after 60, it's different. You've already built a life. You have property, savings, maybe a will or trust, and a legacy meant for your children or grandchildren. Now, a new marriage could unknowingly rewrite all of it. Take Alina, for instance, a 67-year-old painter with a soft smile and a quiet strength. She'd spent a decade post-divorce building a stable life. She had a house, savings, and a collection of artwork she'd promised to her daughter, Claire. Then she met Paul, a widower with a gentle soul and a deep love for the arts. They connected over gallery visits and stories of their pasts. When he proposed, she said yes with a glowing heart. But over tea with a friend one afternoon, Alina learned something she hadn't considered: estate law. If she remarried without a legal plan, Paul could gain automatic rights to her property. Claire, her only child and closest confidante, could lose the home she'd grown up in, simply because the law sees marriage as a binding contract, no matter how your heart sees it. It wasn't just the house. There were questions about medical decisions, end-of-life care, and what would happen if Paul passed first, or if she did. In many states, a surviving spouse is entitled to a significant portion of the estate, even if a will says otherwise. Without a prenup or updated documents, your intentions might get overruled. And that's not all. Consider healthcare. If you fall ill and can't speak for yourself, who decides your treatment? Most assume it'll be their children. After all, they've known you longest. But in the eyes of the law, your spouse gets that power first. And while you might trust them, their views could clash with your family's, or even your own. Then there's the question of debts, pensions, social security, and old obligations. Your new spouse may come with lingering financial baggage, loans, alimony, or responsibilities you never anticipated. Or, by remarrying, you could lose benefits you currently receive based on a previous marriage. Alina and Paul chose to meet with an estate attorney before their wedding. Together, they drafted a prenuptial agreement. Not out of distrust, but out of care. They updated their wills, clarified medical directives, and ensured their children's futures were secure. It wasn't the stuff of romance novels, but it brought peace. Paul's son later told Alina, "Thank you for thinking of my dad, and of us. It meant the world." The truth is, legal clarity is a gift. It shields your love from misunderstanding, family disputes, and costly mistakes. So before you walk down the aisle again, ask, what rights will my spouse gain? What happens to my home, my savings, my wishes? How do I make sure my legacy reaches the ones I love? These aren't cold questions, they're loving ones. Because remarriage should feel like a new beginning, not a legal storm that undoes everything you've built. Prepare now, so you can love freely, with trust, with transparency, and with nothing left unsaid. Fifth, financial realities shift in unexpected ways. Picture yourself on a quiet morning. You're sipping tea by the window, imagining a future with someone new. Maybe cozy vacations, a warm home, companionship through your golden years. But then the mail arrives. A letter about Social Security, a pension notice, and suddenly, the numbers don't add up the way they used to. Remarriage after 60 isn't just an emotional decision. It's a financial one. And if you're not prepared, the consequences can be both unexpected and deeply personal. Let's start with Robert. At 72, he was a gentle soul, a widower with 2 grown daughters, a love for gardening, and a modest retirement saved up over decades. When he met Linda, sparks flew. They shared laughter, late-night chats, and a mutual sense of peace. Marriage felt like the next natural step. But shortly after their wedding, Robert received a letter from an estate lawyer. According to state law, Linda now had legal claim to a significant portion of his estate, including the house he had always planned to pass down to his daughters. The future he'd pictured for them, help with college for grandkids, a safety net in tough times, was suddenly uncertain. It wasn't about mistrust. It was about not knowing. Financial realities after remarriage aren't always obvious. Social Security benefits based on a former spouse's record may reduce or disappear if you remarry. Certain pensions, especially from government or military service, may stop or shift when you say, "I do," again. And even if you keep separate bank accounts, state laws may entangle assets in ways you didn't intend. Take Margaret, a 65-year-old retiree living comfortably on her late husband's Social Security. When she fell for Tom, a fellow widower, she discovered that remarrying would cost her nearly $800 a month. A loss she couldn't afford. They chose to live together instead. It wasn't the fairy tale she imagined, but it preserved her independence and financial security. Then there's debt. Perhaps your new partner carries old financial burdens, credit card debt, loans from a failed business, obligations to their own family. Even if you didn't accumulate it, marriage might tie you to it. An inheritance. If you have children or grandchildren, you may assume they'll inherit what's rightfully theirs: your home, savings, cherished possessions. But unless your estate is clearly structured, remarriage could shift that balance, leaving them with less or nothing at all. It's not about choosing money over love. It's about protecting both. Robert and Linda eventually met with a financial planner. They updated his will, created a trust for his daughters, and had open, thus though difficult, conversations with the whole family. It wasn't easy, but it was honest. And in the end, everyone felt respected. So before you walk down that aisle, Ask yourself what benefits might change if I remarry. Are my assets protected? And are my intentions clear? Have I spoken with a financial advisor or estate planner? These aren't just logistical details. They're safeguards, shields that protect what you've spent a lifetime earning and building. Because love, at this stage, deserves to flourish without fear, and your future deserves to be secure. Take a moment, breathe. You've walked through 5 truths, each one offering a lantern to light your way. Not to scare you, but to steady you, because remarriage after 60 is not a leap into the unknown. It's a thoughtful, tender step into a chapter that can be just as rich, if not richer, than the ones before. You've met Robert, who discovered that love also means financial planning. Susan, who navigated the delicate balance between joy and family legacy. Harold, who learned that emotional closeness sometimes asks for space. Elena, who chose to protect her daughter's future with grace and clarity. And Frank, who realized that happiness isn't found in someone else, it's built from within. Their stories may echo parts of yours. Maybe you, too, are standing at a crossroads, holding on to memories while reaching for what could be next. So here's what we know. Finances shift in ways no one tells you until it's too late. Family dynamics, even in loving homes, can grow complicated. Emotional expectations change when you've lived a full life already. Legal ties are stronger than you think and deserve careful planning. And most of all, happiness evolves. What you needed at 30 may not be what fulfills you now. But none of that means you shouldn't remarry. It just means you should do it with your eyes open, your heart full, and your mind prepared. Talk to your family, your partner, a financial advisor, an attorney. But most of all, talk to yourself. What do I need now? Not years ago, but today? What brings me peace? What version of love fits this life I've built? Maybe the answer is a new marriage. Maybe it's companionship without the paperwork. Maybe it's staying solo, but open to deep connection. There is no wrong path. The only mistake is rushing towards something because it feels warm in the moment, without considering what happens after the music fades and the cake is gone. This stage of life is a gift. You've earned the right to make choices that honor your journey, your values, and your future. So take your time, ask the hard questions, have the honest talks, because the right relationship at this age doesn't just fill a void, it adds light to the life you already treasure. If this touched something in you, I'd love to know. Drop a comment. Share your story. You're not alone. And if you're not yet subscribed, consider joining us. Tap the bell so you don't miss the next story. Your presence, your voice, it keeps this space alive. Thank you for being here, truly.